Okay, so big day today, putting the heads onto the engine today. So I've cleaned all of the WD-40 and the protections off the barrels, as it were. So ready to go on that side of the equation. Now I'm putting on these MLS gaskets onto using them. It's the first time I've ever used them. I think the ML stands for multi-layer. As you can see, there's 3 different layers to this. And there's a bit of a problem. It's not a problem, it's just something that even Cometic make a point of and allude to in their instructions, which is if you've got aftermarket heads, and then I do, some aftermarket heads, and the S&S ones do have this issue, won't allow these rivets to work. Now, bringing over to the engine for just a second, this is the rear, and we're doing the rear first because apparently the rear is the hardest one to put in, which it was the hardest to take out. Now, if I clock this correctly, there we go. You can see that or you might not be able to see, but hopefully you will. You can see that the little brass rivets are very proud from the ring that occurs on the top of the cylinder. So from the engine's point of view, it's not an issue. The issue becomes apparent when you put it onto these heads. Now, if I put the gasket in a rough position here, it's basically there's a little bit of, I suppose, metal memory in that. Anyway, you can see that, I'll pop this down a little bit, hopefully you can see that the rivet on this side, which is the intake side, is pretty good. I wouldn't need to take that one off. But on this side, it actually has it's not going to show up. I've got a new camera. This is a new camera because the GoPro let me down too many times, but from an action cam point of view. But I've got another camera, but I'm still learning how to use it. Now, if you look closely, and I'll see if I can make it a little bit better. There we go, maybe. This rivet is actually proud, and it sits just on that little section right there. And I'm worried that that will not allow this side to seal properly. And the instructions actually say, please use a side cutter. It's, let's see, number 6. If you're using a head or cylinder other than stock, check brass rivet location. So I've actually gone ahead and done it already. This is the second one. I've actually already gone ahead and done it. But I had microphone problems. And that noise you can hear there are some guinea fowl that we have. One of the idiots up here has bought them from his farm and has let them loose. So what can you do? So what I've done is I've removed one of the rivets. You can see there, that rivet is now gone. That allows that to be completely and utterly wound down. Now, the Cometic gaskets have a torque settings in here. They tell you to go from 9 foot in sequence, then 14 foot, and then 22 foot, and then 35 foot, with a final torque of 42 foot. Then it's got a big thing in bold saying, if you're using a panhead, shovelhead, or iron sports, to use the factory torque settings. So, I mean, who knows? Well, I know what that is because my manual has finally arrived. I am going to kill those birds. The manual has arrived, and it tells me that it's supposed to be 65 foot. So after all of that, it looks like we're going to be doing a 6-stage torque. So I'm going to put you down now. I'm going to find a javelin so I can throw it at those bloody awful birds out there. Whoever thinks those birds are nice needs to live with them. They're not nice. And I'm going to put the rear one on. So hopefully the next time you see this is me having it on, no crying chickens or any of that sort of stuff, and a bit of silence in the road. Okay, so I'm just showing you here. I'm using the new camera. I don't know the settings on it very well, so in the LCD screen it looks okay. That is the brass rivet. You see, look at that. It's not wanting to know. Can I touch the screen? Focus there. Okay, that's the brass rivet, and it's hanging out in the middle. If I bring out around here for a moment, you'll see underneath the exhaust there is no brass rivet, and that's because that is absolutely right up against it. There. Now currently let's just go back out. How do I do that? Oh, that's the wrong way. Got a little bit of movement there. Might not be able to pick that up in the area there. That's going to allow me to clock the heads for the intake that you see down here. So a couple of things. First of all, I need to get a lot better at running with this camera, but hopefully you can see the reasons why we needed to cut just one of the rivets. Interesting. First of all, I've got the front, as you may have seen from the previous video, if it's good enough. I used my new camera, so don't expect wonders. Odd quandary that I have here, in the respect that the rear one required the rivet to be taken out down here, primarily because I felt that it wasn't going to seal correctly. Now, interestingly enough, on the front head, it actually has a cutout for it, which is a little bit weird. As in, I don't actually think I need to cut it out. I'm going to do it anyway. This side is perfectly fine. That side is okay. It's just this side that I might just cut the rivet from, because better safe than sorry, eh? So I'm going to do that, and then I'll put it onto the engine, and then we'll talk about how that all went. Okay, so the heads are on. They're still hand tight, so I can clock them. They can see I've got a bit of movement there and a little bit of movement there. So the next step is to get the intake manifold here, get that so that that's nice and flat, but I'm also hoping that I can get it so that it properly is aligned with each intake on the actual head itself. This side was a little bit okay. This is the bastard bolt. I don't know why, but it just is an absolute bastard bolt. So I got that on perfectly fine. The distance, if you saw my previous one, that the distance between the head and the down tube there, you can just see it there. That's super close, and I don't know whether or not that's something I have any control over other than possibly moving the entire engine forward via the transmission and the engine mounts at the front here. I don't know what that's going to do with the belt. I'm thinking it's been done on purpose. So with that in mind, well, next step is to get the intake all nicely correct and then do these up. I've yet to torque these up. As I mentioned earlier, it'll be a 6-stage process. So she's all buttoned up, 65 foot-pounds on all, however many there are, 10 bolts. One word of caution, if you're on one of these type of stands and you're putting 65 foot-pounds, you can actually, well, that will actually almost lift the bike off the thing. I did get it done. Some people say that you just basically wrench on them or swing off them until you can't move them any further. I think 65 foot-pounds, I doubt I could go any further than that, but the ability to do that is still there. I've yet to obviously put the exhausts in, so if I put the exhausts in, one of these might be a bit more difficult to get to, but I've got that special little, I'll get it actually. Here we go, still on the torque wrench. Got that special little thing I made, which is from an impact socket. It's made from an impact socket and it goes up, it's nice and thin, so I'm pretty happy about that. I'll probably end up putting that in the tool area there. So the next thing is for the push rods to go in, and unfortunately, stupid me, I didn't actually clean the push rod covers, so I've got that to do. So I think I might stop that here and we'll carry on. The intake is still after being properly clocked, or not clocked properly, but it's looking sweet as a nut in there, so we should be good there. No, your eyes do not deceive you. Cometic gaskets have given me one extra one of these smaller ones and not enough of the bigger ones that go into the actual engine block. So luckily for me, I bought some rubber ones as well to try out. I'm going to go with cork, so I'll have one that's rubber and the others that are cork. The other one's waiting in the oil bath over there to be put onto all the new push rods. Okay, so we've put the push rods in, adjusted them, cycled it through from the compression to obviously the base lobes and so forth and so on, done all that. I know that I'll have to probably redo them in a 500k or so, or certainly after it's had a couple of heat cycles. So then I turned my attention to the brakes, the rear brake to be honest and put it all in there, put it up to the back here, and you're going to see that basically where the hell are the brakes? Well, I was having some trouble getting the brakes to actually grip. I was getting clean brake fluid through, but they just wouldn't grip, and that is primarily because, if we pop in here for a moment, should have got this all ready beforehand. That is the width of the side that faces out towards the road, i.e. this side. And that's not too bad. But this side is not only is it very thin, it's also cracked at the top. And essentially, I think that the pistons were out as far as they possibly could go. So with that in mind, I've pulled them straight back into the bore. Now the next thing was, as I was moving the tire around or wheel around to see if I could get the thing to actually grab by using the rear brake lever, I noticed that I've actually got a broken spoke. So I've just installed the F&A tight seal kit for the intake on the shovel head. You can see it's just there. Disregard the fact that these are still loose. I've still got to do them up, but I thought I might just see if I could show you that the seal is now really, really good. We just pop over here as well. And essentially, if I run my finger down through it, there is no discernible difference between the intake and the actual head itself. So I'm very happy about how that's sealing. And before, there was a very noticeable lip at the bottom of this, and it was leaking. And I don't think it's going to leak. Coupled with the tight seal from F&A Customs, I think that pretty much I'm happy about how that's working. So I have not put these in here because I have an old STF or old stuff oil relocation, so I'm actually going to be taking these off and doing it properly, which is probably the job after I get my carburetor on. I just need to make sure where everything is. The tight seal kit recommends or says must have a carburetor support that goes between here and here, which is always a good idea anyway. I didn't have one, so I bought one from Gasbox at the same time as I bought the U-shaped oil tank with the integrated battery, which I'm considering doing. The bike has sat for about a month to 2 months without starting, and so I suspect it is ridiculously wet sumped. So I'm going to get rid of all the oil, and since I'm going to do that, I might as well do the whole change. So that's the thinking. So I've come back from the wheelwright. It turns out that it's quicker to make the spoke and put it in than it is to order the spoke. I got the guy to check the interior. He's painted the interior or something and put a new rim tape as well. So he reckons I'll get another year and a half from this wheel before I'll need to change it out, which is kind of good. Tire's new, so I'll use it up. I've got some new brakes as well with a lot more meat in them. And so the order of attack today, and I'll finish this video off now, but basically it's to put the wheel back onto the bike. I got rid of the speed sensor from the old digital speedo, so I put a new spacer in, and I think I'll put it back down on the ground, wheel it out to the front, and probably give it a good degrease before taking the battery tray off and the oil. I think I've made the decision to put the horseshoe in there now at this point. The bigger decision I have to make is whether or not I take to the points. I am looking to completely rewire the bike to ensure that it's all properly done. There's some very odd pieces of wire. So as I was saying, there's some odd pieces of wire and some odd things going on there, like that, for example. So I am actually rewiring the bike, just trying to work out how to do it with the least amount of wires and the most correct way of doing it. Electricity and its logic, it's not a problem. It's just getting it right, So yeah, that's the plan of attack. Thank you for watching.